last week, we talked about defining self-love for yourself. This week, well, the week before actually, we addressed introspection. Today, we're looking at connecting with your why. Because in practicing self-love, you first have to, 1, do the work of introspection, aka self-x-ray. 2, define your own version of self-love. Not your parents, not your partners, not your friends, yours. Now, you need to commit to practicing your version of self-love. But that's where I think a lot of us stumble. We can picture it, but we can't connect to the picture in our minds. So we start or we continue the game of start and stop, aka yo-yoing. I know I do it a lot. So with me to help us understand how to connect is Ololade Olusola, a certified marriage coach and a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner. Ololade is the founder of Purple Lilies Foundation, where she has a vision to raise a new generation of African women who are powerful, purposeful, and whole. She's also the co-lead pastor at Grace Life Church, Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome, Ololade.
Thank you so much, Feran.
I've been wanting to have you as a guest for ages, so
Are
I'm
you
quite
serious?
chuffed that you could make it. So yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, like I said, self-love series, and
Yeah.
we've done introspection,
Yeah.
defining self-love for yourself. Now we're doing connecting with your why.
Yeah.
What is connecting with your why?
Whew. What is connecting with your why? Basically, why are you here? Why are you on this earth? And you know, when you look in the mirror in the morning, you look and say, what is my why? Why am I here? The reason for our existence, basically.
Okay, but as it relates to self-love, so let me give an example. Like I said to Tolu last week, I'm trying to lose weight.
Okay.
And I keep yo-yoing,
Okay.
you know, and she asked me a poignant question, and she was like, why are you trying to lose weight?
Exactly.
The irony is, I couldn't give what I felt was a credible answer. So she was like, that's because you're not connected to the why.
Well, yes, exactly.
You know, so
Yes.
what is it? How do you then relate that to self-love?
Right. You know, we grew up in an environment where a lot of us don't even understand our why. So when we want to look at it in relation to self-love is when people say, why self-love? Why do you want to, love yourself? Why is it important to look into the mirror and say, oh, I love myself. I'm proud of the way I look. I'm proud of the way I see myself. It first starts with, first of all, understanding who you are. Okay. And because a lot of us grew up in an environment where we don't even recognize who we are. We grew up in an environment where we were defined by other people. We grew up in an environment where nobody allowed us to be us. And you come to that point in your life where you just have to decide that, you know what, I'm going to love myself because I am me. I am me.
Okay. So I'm going to love myself because I am me. What does that because this topic is quite...
It's tricky.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe I should give you a brief of how I got here.
Okay.
So that you'll be able to understand this. And why I think Tolu set me up for this topic, because really I should be next week, is because she knows that I've been on the journey of finding myself.
Okay.
And it all boils down to you thinking, not really realizing that you're looking for yourself.
Okay.
And it started in 2008. I was just a fresh, married young woman. I was enjoying life. And like they say, I was balling. Life was good. I'd just gotten married to my wonderful husband. He was a banker. I was fresh from school, a fresh graduate. And we're having the times of our life. My husband had just moved jobs, and he had moved to a place where his salary was like 400% increase. And I was living life. He just got this beautiful new car. I had a beautiful new son.
So you were living life.
I was
and
enjoying.
Then what happened?
Then my husband lost all his money in the stock market.
Oh, wow.
And so he went from millions a month to zero.
Oh, wow.
And I remember the first day that he came home after that experience. And he looked at me and said, I have something to say to you. My husband is very gentle, very loving. He rarely gets angry. But this day I saw a different side of him. His shoulders were down. And I'm like, what did I do? And I was like, no, you didn't. It has nothing to do with you. I just have a confession to make. I took a loan from the stock market. I took a loan from this bank and added with some personal savings. And I've invested everything in the stock market, and the stock market has crashed. It has gone south. And I said, what does that mean? What is the stock market? What's my business with that? Because then he was working in an investment bank. And I said, what does that mean? And he says, okay, it means that the millions I took have become nothing.
Wow.
And I'm like, you have to be kidding me. First of all, I held him tight. I said, you had that kind of money. So the first thing that happened to me was a betrayal. Because, I was like, we are never going to hide anything from ourselves. But that journey took me, it's just now, maybe from 2020, thereabout, when COVID happened. It looked as if I was stuck. In helping my husband come back to that.
But how does that relate to your own self-love?
I'm coming. So on that journey, I started to ask questions like, what am I doing here? I started to ask questions like, why am I here? What is the meaning of my life? I started to ask questions like, why am I in this marriage at this particular point in time? And the answers I would get would be things like, love yourself first. Leave your husband. Look into the mirror. What do you see? And I was like, but that's not why I'm here. And that started happening from 2019 when I had got, we were supposed to pay a bill and we had missed the bill time to pay for that bill. And I was tired. And after all the shame, the embarrassment, the tears, I took my bags, 3 days, and went on a retreat with God. And I told God, I said, see, I've been serving you since when I was 19. And I'm going for this 3 days retreat. And if you don't answer me in this retreat, then there's no point. I can as well go back to the world and enjoy my life. And when I was in that place, the first thing I got was, leave your husband and it's time to face your own life. I've heard your prayers. It's time to look into the mirror. You have lost yourself.
So you've lost yourself.
Yes. And that's where self-love comes in. So what God did for me on that journey was I needed to find myself. I needed to come to a place and say, I, Ololade Olusola, I love myself. I love the way I look. I love the gifts that God has given me. I have to stop hiding behind this person.
Okay, so I'm going to still bring it back to, at what point did you then understand that, okay, you've done this work of introspection.
Yeah.
You've done the work of defining what self-love looked like to yourself.
Yeah.
How did you start practicing self-love? How did you connect with what it is you were doing so that you could even begin to practice it?
Okay, so truthfully, I would say that first of all, by identifying that God loves me.
Okay.
Because there was no way I was going to go on that journey as a broken person without first identifying that God loved me. Because at that time, I was so broken. And I needed to come to a place of recovery fast. And the only person that could love me out of all, because I felt totally lost, was finding myself in God's love. And finding myself in God's love was what gave me bearing, to be able to come back to my life and, to be able to get to that point where I would say, okay, all the mistakes of the past, all the things that have happened in the past, I first need to get to a place where I needed to understand how much God loved me.
So that's your own why?
Yes, that was my why. That was my why. My why was, if God can love me in this situation, then I can love myself. That was my, my own.
How did you practicalize that? It sounds very in the clouds.
Yeah.
How did you practice that?
So lately, so I'll pin it down to how to start to enjoy. I started doing meditation.
Okay.
So meditation started, I started taking the word, affirmations every morning, and I started to speak it over my life. I know and believe that God loves me. I know and believe that God loves me. And I love myself because God loves me. I love myself because God loves me. I love myself. I love the way I look. I stand in the mirror. I strut. I go back. I go forth. I look in the mirror. I say, I'm good. I'm intelligent. I'm brilliant. I have the Spirit of God in me. And because I have that Spirit of God in me, it enables me to be able to do exactly what I need to do at this point in time. I realized that the more I started to practice meditation, which is one of the greatest tools that we have, there was just something about me that said there was just this life inside me. And that has to be your why, because the truth of it is, when you find yourself, when you begin on that journey of finding yourself, when you begin to see yourself as God sees you, when you begin to see that, come to think of it, there is so much in me for me to be able to offer my generation. I am beautiful. It takes, there was one day I was reading something, and it said that the way we are made, if they bring out the intestines that you are inside you, Feran, it can actually feel almost like, was it like 300 miles? I'm like, of the whole intestines in my body, I'm special. There's something about me. Come on, there's something about me. I can't just be I can't just be ordinary. If you look at the way the body is even, we are built up as human beings. What makes us feel like we are not special?
Okay, so I'm still going to take you back to, so for you, your why is you had to start from a place of understanding God's love for you, to begin to understand that, to begin to accept that you loved yourself. But in this journey, were there any common triggers for you? Were there any common triggers for you to not understand that you needed to love yourself and that God loves you?
A lot of triggers.
How do we, what are those triggers, and how, because again, you have to remember that the people who are going through this journey of who am I, what am I here for, okay, now I know I love myself, how do I practice loving myself all the time? What are the things, what are the potholes you need to watch out for?
Okay, good. So the first thing that needs finding myself and loving myself was actually in my coaching class. We had gone for a life coaching class, and my coach then, Larry Olusola, asked us a question. And he said to us, who are you? And he said, don't qualify yourself by what you have. Don't say I am Wale's wife. Don't say I am Tolu and Dimiwu's mom. Just say who you are. And he got to me and he said, who are you? And I looked at him and I looked at him. I couldn't answer. And that day there was like a seed that was sown in me that I lost myself. So the first thing first is first of all to accept that there's a self-loss, like you've lost yourself somewhere. And in facing that reality, you need to start finding your journey back, and start saying, how do I get out of this place? First of all, look into the mirror. And, look into the mirror and ask yourself, why am I here? Some of us were defined by our parents. Some of us were, I'm sure we've talked about that during introspection and all that. Some of us were defined by our challenges and circumstances. But the time comes into your life, you need to find your own person and say, I'm not going to allow this to define me. I need to connect with my own main reason of being on this earth, which is, of course, a purpose and an assignment. And it starts with me, first of all, looking into the mirror and say, you know what? I want to be me. Talkative me. When I was young, I used to talk a lot. And people say, you are talking. My mom told me, she said, yeah, but you talk for a good cause. And that's what I'm doing today. So it has to do with still looking into the mirror and say, what are the things that I've always heard, that I've never even, identified with? What are the things that I have that you don't have? If you look at our hands, there's nobody that has the same fingerprints. We are all different in our own way. And connecting our why is, you are here for a purpose. There's a reason for your life. You are somebody's prayer point. You're somebody's looking at you every day and saying, Pharaoh, I wish I was like Pharaoh. Tall, dark, sweet, that kind of thing. And another person is just, looking at you like, I just want to be, like this. So when we want to connect to your eye, you have to look deep down. There's nobody that can do that for you. Because I got tired of hiding. I got tired of, people, and my husband kept saying, I don't want people to say, you are Wale's wife. And I've always been an achiever. I've always been somebody that was, in school, I had the, best grades and all that. But the challenges and the circumstances that I'd gone through that had made me to hide. I didn't like myself. I didn't even used to look at myself in the mirror.
So what are those? So I'm assuming those challenges and circumstances are part of the triggers.
Yes.
So what are some of those triggers?
So, okay, some of the triggers that happened then was I felt at a point in my life, I wanted people to approve me.
So you wanted validation.
Thank you. So validation. So sometimes if you don't get that validation, you go back into your shell. Sometimes, the triggers, maybe sometimes when somebody says something and you feel like you can't do this, you feel less than yourself. So the triggers, another trigger you can have is sometimes, somebody just says something to you and you go like, it's because of this state I'm in. If not for the state I was in, I would have showed this person pepper. That kind of thing. So the triggers, they're a lot, but the most important thing is there's just this strike in your heart. And I feel that's what happened to me in that class. When my coach asked me, who are you? There was a seed, there was an awakening that happened in my heart. And I said, have I lost myself? Am I hiding? Have I lost myself? And I started the journey. That was a seed. I started saying, okay, so if I'm not this person's wife, and if I'm not this person's child, who am I? And today I can boldly say, I am the wholeness queen.
It's interesting listening to you because you're just a bundle of energy.
Thank you.
And I want to understand more about how you were able to go from brokenness to this bundle of energy. What are the different things that you did from an action point of view to be able to get you to where you currently are?
First and foremost, I needed to forgive myself. I needed to look into the mirror and say, I'm better than this. I needed to first forgive myself and just know that life is beautiful. And these days, my hashtag is premium soft life. People talk about soft life, but I talk about the premium one. I needed to forgive myself, and I needed to forgive my husband. Because at a point in my life, when I was coming into marriage, I had dreams.
Like most people.
I had so many dreams. We had dreams, but for like 10 years, it felt like we were stuck in like a cycle that we couldn't get out of. But now, almost 15 years after that experience, I can say I was actually on a journey of refinement. I needed to go through that journey to get to this place whereby I love myself. You understand? I know my why. I connect with my why. So now if people so for example, if I go to a platform, I invite somebody, if I invite someone to speak on my platform, or maybe an IG live, and the person will go, get out, the person is just there. This is, I was like, oh, maybe the person just doesn't have time yet. I've become more compassionate, So first thing first, forgive yourself. Because when you want to love, forgiveness is the root of true love, especially when we are finding ourselves on a journey. So if you say the practical thing, look into the mirror and go on that journey. And it's not automatic because people say, just forgive yourself, just forgive yourself. Sometimes you have to go through a journey to be able to get to that point where we say, okay.
What happens when you get stuck
within
that journey?
Breathe, take a break. It's okay. It's okay to fall and get up again. I do that all the time. I was still talking to my friend before we got into the studio that there's a journey of somebody I've been going on. The person really, really offended me. And it was even beginning to get into my prayer life. And the Lord was saying, you need to deal with this. You can take a pause. Don't be too hard on yourself. For God's sake, you are connecting with the real you. That's maybe some of us, the real us has been lost is when we were in primary school. Maybe we were abused by somebody we loved so much. I hear so much these days because of the space I've come into. So I tell people, I say, go on your own journey. Don't listen to other people say, just forgive and forget. Excuse me. Somebody raped you as when you were 8 years old at the prime of your life. You're 32 and you don't want men around you and people just say, forgive like that. No. You have to heal from that spot. Take yourself on a journey. Some people, it takes them 6 months. Some people, it takes them 2 years. Some people, it takes them 5 years. But the most important thing is that we are on the journey of healing. So number one thing I would say, practical steps, forgive yourself. Number two, breathe. I think I've said that with number one. Breathe, pause, and start again. It's okay to fail. Get up and just live life. Life is beautiful. And sometimes when life hits you hard, there'll be a tomorrow.
True.
There'll be a tomorrow. So don't, take it all in. These days I cry. I say crying is healing. And sometimes when I remember some experiences I've had, or I remember my mom is not here to see all the things I'm doing now, I cry, I pause, I say, And throughout that, it might be my mom I'm thinking about. So, one, forgive yourself. Two, take a pause. Go on your own journey. And number three, embrace the new you. Every day, you know, you're going to fall in yourself. The more you're on that journey, the more you, you know, in coaching, we say there's energy. So when you switch away from negative energy to positive energy, the universe will respond to you. So when I don't know you before and I see you driving in traffic and I smile at you, what do you do back to me?
You smile.
That's it. There's energy in the atmosphere. We're just not aware of it. So the most important thing is start positive vibes every day and say, look, girl, you're beautiful. Your mind can say you are not. You say it again and say, you're beautiful, baby. And you start again and say, you are beautiful, baby. This real me that God has created, I'm connecting with it. I tell you, I'm still on my own journey. But it's beautiful. Because your why you're here, nobody can take it away.
You know what? Yeah. On that note, we've come to the end. And it's actually been quite interesting listening to you, because it's good to be able to hear from perspective of somebody who's going on the journey and has defined their why. So your why is very singular. You know, understanding that God loves you regardless.
Yes.
And that has helped you in this journey.
That's my foundation.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing some of your story.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really glad that you were able to come today. This has been quite insightful. As you guys watching may know, it's a self-love series. So to just do a quick recap, we've done introspection in week 1, and then we did defining self-love for yourself, and now we did connecting with your why. And Ololade has told her from the perspective of her personal story. And next week, it's going to be gratitude on your soul. So please stay tuned and keep watching. And yeah, we've come to the end.
Thank you.
Short and sweet, but always impactful.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Ololade. And thank you so much for watching. We've come to the end. Fumi and Helen are not here with us today, so I'm going to be wrapping up the show. So this is the end of the show. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next Saturday. Bye.